Interview we promised you now with the Democratic Alliance, and of course we will be speaking to John Moodey later on in the second half of this hour. Now, the Democratic Alliance says it will release documents to the media with regard to various cases against the DA's former Gauteng Provincial Leader, John Moodey. Now, the party says this decision is in the interest of transparency and fairness following the resignation of John Moodey yesterday. According to the DA, a press briefing will allow an opportunity to also discuss details of Moodey's resignation. In the meantime, the DA has appointed Solly Msimanga as acting DA Gauteng Provincial Leader in that position that was left vacant by Moodey. DA Gauteng Provincial Chairperson Moriarty joins us now to discuss this further. Mr. Moriarty, good morning. Thanks for speaking to us on Morning Live.
Well, thank you.
Mr. Moriarty, first and foremost, John Moodey, a long-time servant of this party. What was your immediate reaction to his resignation?
Well, I was greatly disappointed. I've known John for a long time. I do think he's making a mistake. I think it's the DA that is in the position that is the most likely to challenge the ANC. In this country is in a desperate place. It really calls upon South Africans to rise up and call for the unseating of the ANC, and you need a strong party to be able to do that. We have focused our attentions on doing just that. John Moodey was a part of it. We are in a growth stage. We are likely to be able to realize our objectives in the local government election next year and go beyond to be the core of a realigned majority by 2024. It's going to be the thing that does happen. Unfortunately, now John is not going to be part of it.
Mr. Moriarty, I spoke to the DA's national spokesperson, Refilwe Nseke, yesterday after Mr. Moodey's press briefing, and she said, when I asked her about details regarding the charges against John Moodey in that disciplinary process, she said that matter had become moot since John Moodey had now resigned as a member of the party. So what has since changed? Why is the DA now going to ventilate those disciplinary charges against him?
Well, unfortunately, when John left, he chose to try and kick the party in the stomach, so to speak, and in the process make a huge amount of accusations and slurs. Some of which involved the FLC process that had begun, and the party wants to set the record straight.
So with regard to the charges, what Mr. Moodey did mention in that press briefing was that he believed that he was obviously up on charges for defending the former leader of the party, Msimanga, and he also says that the party has trumped up charges against him and he believes will continue to do so. So what is your response to that, and are you able at this stage to give us any further clarity with regard to the disciplinary charges against John Moodey?
Well, what I can say is that an investigation was done, Takina, and that investigation, unfortunately for John, showed that there was a case to be answered. And that was all that was happening. John was innocent and remains innocent until proven otherwise. But there is charges, there is an investigation that was done, and that's the information that is going to be shared later on. But the fact is that he had the opportunity to defend himself. As is our processes, he should have used that opportunity. It's regretful that he's not going to do that. From our side, we hold our members, our public representatives to a high standard, including Helen Zille, who herself is facing charges. So there's no difference between the cases. They were at a case where investigations had been done. They determined that there are charges that had to be answered, and they were awaiting the hearings to take place, dates for which were set. And it's unfortunate that in this one particular case, John is choosing not to be part of the process going forward.
Speaking of Helen Zille, you yourself have expressed concern. You've announced that you will be contesting the position currently held by Helen Zille, Federal Council Chairperson of the Democratic Alliance, because you believe that Helen is not necessarily bringing stability to the party, if I can paraphrase you correctly. And then looking at that, and also the fact that not just John Moodey, but those who have left previously other black senior leaders in the DA have all cited in some way or another Helen Zille as a common denominator for part of the reason why they were leaving the DA. What's your view on Helen Zille as a factor for black leaders not being happy in the DA?
Well, Helen Zille has a lot of black supporters, so it doesn't hinge on race, Sakina. What it does hinge on is whether or not I believe, and this is obviously the reason why I'm standing, that the role of the chairperson of the Federal Council requires somebody who focuses on the organization. And it's something that I've done in my own political career. It's something that I've done well. In various roles that I've played, including my current role as provincial chairperson, to go into the next stage, i.e. chair of the Federal Council chairperson, for me would be just one more step up. And I think that I can do it very, very well. I believe that I'm the best person. I believe that I'm better than Helen Zille. And so for me, it's about being in the party and contesting for the space. It's not about doing whatever is being done currently outside of the party. I would encourage anybody that feels that there's a difference and there's a belief that it should be done in a different way, then they should contest, like I am contesting, whether it's in a debate within a committee or in an election contest like the one that I'm going into right now. That's what good Democrats should do.
I mean, on the one hand, as you say, you could argue whether this is or is not about race in the final analysis. But when Helen Zille talks about apartheid, you yourself have disagreed with some of the tweets that she has put out regarding apartheid South Africa and the condition of South Africans and that they've had to live under as black South Africans. So that certainly is a factor. John Moodey spoke about some of the policy issues regarding affirmative action, BEE, for example. So surely these are questions that the DA is currently grappling with.
Yes, we are. And there's a space for us to do it. And this coming weekend, it's going to be very interesting because we've got our policy conference. I'm absolutely confident that come Sunday evening that we're going to be able to put something that is solutions for South Africa, something that will give hope for South Africa, and something that will take us forward to go to that place where we need to be, to unseat a government that currently is tainted with huge amounts of corruption and thinks it's there until Jesus comes.
So just taking a look at what has happened in the last couple of years or so, the DA seeing an exodus of black leaders, Patricia de Lille, Mmusi Maimane, Herman Mashaba. Now you've got John Moodey, speculation that others may follow. Surely the DA has to be concerned. Are there no alarm bells going off that there is a problem internally within the DA with regard to how the leaders, black leaders in particular, are perceiving what's happening in the party?
Well, obviously a party has to be concerned when people leave. We have to introspect and ask ourselves, are there any particular conditions that cause this? And those are conversations that we do have, Sakina. But I must add that people that have left us haven't just been of any particular racial or ethnic group. There have been white people as well that have chosen to leave for their various reasons. And the party, obviously, what we did after the last election was to go into a review process, which produced the review report. And there are some very, very sound recommendations that are in there. And those have been unpacked. Unfortunately, these things do take time. And they've been implemented. We're taking the hard medicine. Unfortunately, while you take the medicine, sometimes the illness still has to play out. I don't see this as terminal, Sakina. In fact, I actually see that there is a good result awaiting the DA in next year's local government election, and we will be the core of a realigned majority by 2024.
And just to wrap this particular conversation, Mr. Moriarty, with regard to the conference in October, and this, we understand, will be virtual. Now, there has been some concern and opposition expressed to that within the party. Bali Ntuli, for example, notably speaking out against that. What is the DA's position? Have you now, is that final, this will be a virtual conference?
Well, it's what we call a hybrid conference, Sakina. Those people who haven't got devices that now allow them to connect will be able to go to venues where they will be given an opportunity through connections that are provided by the party at those venues. And they'll be able to vote fully and participate fully as if they were doing so from their own laptop or smartphone. So it's been provided for, and we've demonstrated that we can make it work. We've had branch AGMs. I mean, in my own province here in Gauteng, 89.2% of AGMs were successfully carried out. That's a huge proportion. And there's similar numbers and even bigger numbers in other provinces. So we proved that we can do these things either virtually, sometimes in smaller venues, regulations permitting, and obviously observing the sanitation rules, but also in a hybrid setting where you combine the two. So we've done it in the Eastern Cape Provincial Congress this last weekend. We'll do it on the 26th of September in the Gauteng Congress. We're looking forward to some great events coming up.
And a final question. John Moodey said yesterday during his press briefing that Helen Zille, at some point addressing members of the DA in Gauteng, said that they need to get used to being a 15 to 20% party. Refilwe Nseke disputes that. Did Helen Zille, in fact, make that statement to members of the DA?
Not to my knowledge. I wasn't there. The only person that actually reported on that was somebody who left us, Funzi Ngubeni. Helen denies it.
Well, we leave it there. Thanks so much for your time. DA's Gauteng Provincial Chairperson Mike Moriarty talking to us about John Moodey's resignation, the decision by the party to release his disciplinary documents to the media. And the party says the decision is in the interest of transparency and fairness following the resignation of John Moodey yesterday. And couldn't tell us more about it. We wait to see, because that will be taking place later today, what exactly those charges were against John Moodey. But John Moodey himself coming up here on Morning Live after 7:35. Do stay with us, but let's take